Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Inner Space Family, and a very warm welcome to all of our viewers. This evening, very interesting topic. Do anybody know what's the topic this evening? No, that's okay. Fine. The topic is acceptance, the given way to inner peace. Very interesting and very deep topic, and for that we have our speaker, Louise, with us. Louise has been a student of Brahma Kumaris for many years, where she has discovered the depth of its teaching and the profound simplicity of Bhagavad Gita. And she is also a part of South London team. She enjoys sharing this practice with others and exploring how acceptance can promote peace, purity, and resilience. So it's over to Louise.
And a very warm welcome to those who may be looking online, joining us here this evening in Wembley. And so it is lovely to be with everyone. And maybe before we begin, we can just have a few minutes of silence so we get ourselves centered and focused. And so let's just start with a few minutes of reflection. And so wherever our thoughts may be, let's just bring them into the present. A lot has happened today. We've done a lot. And just a few minutes to bring our focus away from the day's events. To let go of everything and just be still, and to sit on our inner seat of calm. And so let's put aside all distractions. Guide your thoughts into the now. And you have your own inner seat of calm. And so let's just sit on that for a moment. Om Shanti. So it's lovely to be with everyone here in Wembley. I was saying that I've been here once before, but many years ago, many years. And so it's good to be back. It's always good to touch base again with all the many different centres that there are around, because each one has its own fragrance and time goes very fast. And I remember being approached on this topic, acceptance, the gateway to peace. And I didn't give it much thought at the time. And then over the last few days, I was thinking about what it means for acceptance and how it is the gateway to peace. And in today's world, there are, I would say, quite a lot of challenges that we're facing. As society, we are facing. We know that time is moving on and change happens at every moment. But the world, whether it's in our relationships, in our families, in our workplace, whether it's health, whether it's finance, people are experiencing quite a lot of challenges. Would you agree? I think sometimes when we're walking down the street, if we look at the faces of others, we can see that they're carrying quite a lot, and we can tell a lot from the face. And with all the things that are happening in today's world and the different situations that we are facing, then the question comes up, well, how do we manage through all of the different changes that are happening that we might be experiencing? And on an individual level, sometimes we're carrying a lot of things inside, things that only we know, things that only we are going through. And we can have a question as to why is this happening? This shouldn't happen. How is this going to get resolved? When will it get resolved? And so a whole queue of questions can arise in our mind. And where does acceptance fit into that? Because even if we take a step back and we look at our own lives, situations have come, and they do come, and sometimes they come unexpectedly, quietly, and only we know we have to deal with those situations. We have options. We could walk away. We try to avoid the situation, but sometimes we know we have to deal with it. We have to manage that situation. And some situations are positive and welcome, and some situations are not. And so where does acceptance come into this? What part does acceptance play in this? And so we approach this from a spiritual perspective about managing the challenges of life from a spiritual perspective, because everything starts from within the self. And so for me personally, this aspect of acceptance is an attitude. It's an attitude for me. That's how I have understood it, and I see it at the moment. An attitude and a sign of how mature we are inside. So maturity with patience and with understanding. So when someone is mature and we suddenly have a sudden situation that we have to deal with, well then, in fact, sometimes some situations we can manage because it's within our hands to do something about it. But some situations, we can influence them, and you can think of situations in your own life where it's within your hand, you can do something. There may be situations that you can influence another person, influence the outcome, but there may be situations that you have absolutely no control over. Is that your experience? Situations come and there's nothing that we can do about it. But there is one thing that we can do. that first step of courage when a situation comes and it seems as though it's bigger than myself, it's bigger than my capacity, my capability. And when we take a step back, we understand that situations come to us for a reason. Would you agree with that? Would you agree? And the interesting thing is that at that time, we may not know why the situation has come. And in fact, not only do we not understand why, our instinct is to resist. Our instinct is to push back or to fight. But in those situations that are bigger than ourselves, that is outside of our control, and we can look to nature for many lessons like this. And I think the word of nature was on the leaflet, is that when a situation comes, a sign of maturity is to not resist, because it's there for a reason. It has come for a reason, no matter how big the situation may be. And one of the attitude that can help us is the first step of acceptance. And so situations can be small or they can be like a storm. Have you experienced that? A storm inside our own mind. And as we sit here, there is a storm going over the Caribbean. You would have heard of it on the news. It has come, as far as I'm aware, unexpectedly, and it's not a small one. So what are those souls there in that part of the world to do? Are they to resist the storm? Are they to stand on the beach and try to fight the storm? Can't. In life, we have many storms that come to us. And so this aspect of when something comes, and what becomes a challenge is when we don't know why it has come. Why is this here? Why is it that I have to deal with this now? And that brings many questions in our mind. The why is the first. The how, the when, the who, the if. And those thoughts are storms that come into our mind. And we can probably look back from our own experience and see that those storms, that storm, that inner storm really can do bring a lot of heaviness inside of our own minds and can leave us feeling weak. And so for me, this aspect of acceptance is an attitude that is the first, if you like, layer of support to help us when we're facing these situations. Because part of the wheel of life is that these things come in front of us. And we may look at a situation and say, this is unjust. Situations may be painful, particularly when there's loss or there's grief, if it's health, if it's loved ones. Sometimes we're juggling a lot of things and then suddenly a storm, something comes on your doorstep to deal with. And instantly there is that storm, that queue of questions. And so from my own experience, when situations come that we don't understand, we don't know the past of that situation, we don't know the future of that situation, we only know the present, that is here, and I have to deal with it. And when it's something that I cannot control, then the first support is for us to accept. And to accept takes courage. But when we look at it from a spiritual perspective, it really, really helps. And the first, for me, in terms of adopting acceptance, is understanding. I need to understand. From your experience, can you accept if you have not understood something? Can you accept a situation if you haven't understood it? Is it possible? Some shaking of the heads. In fact, We can accept something if we haven't understood it. We can. But it takes a lot of strength, because the mind will create, well, why and if and when. And to have such inner strength within you, the living being, that you say, even if I don't understand, and I don't understand why this is here, but I accept. Because from my personal experience and my understanding, one of our aims of life is to navigate through these challenges and problems. And not just navigate, but to be successful through them. And then we become stronger inside. And not just strength, actually, because this is a life to be lived. And it's not just living, but we want to thrive and we want to be successful. And one of the key aspects of that is to have a lightness of mind, that no matter what we are experiencing, inside of your mind there is lightness, there is peace, and there is happiness. Because when we're able to hold that inside of ourselves, well, then we have so much. But then a situation comes, and all of that can go in an instant. And so it's building up within ourselves that the muscle of our mind becomes stronger and stronger, so that when challenges, problems, situations come in front of us, for which we may not have the answer it's outside of our control, I'm able to overcome it. I'm able to take the steps that's required. And acceptance is such an attitude, it's such an energy. It's one of many, but it's the start. So acceptance in terms of understanding and then inner strength. So a mixture of maturity, a mixture of patience and understanding. And for me, that's how I have understood acceptance. And so to understand that when I am facing something that may be as big as a mountain, it may not be as big for someone else, but for me it's huge. And only I know inside what I'm experiencing and I'm feeling. For me to use I use that word, spiritual understanding, that everything that comes in front of us, even though we may not understand it, has come for a reason. So it's there for me to face and for me to overcome it. And so with this understanding is one, so it's here for a reason. And two, that whatever comes in front of us, no matter how big, there is some silver lining in it. And that may not always be obvious. In fact, sometimes it isn't obvious, but it's definitely there. Inside every situation that comes in front of us, there is some benefit in it. And this has been my experience. It genuinely has. In a situation that's huge, and 99% of it is negative, heavy, you'll find 1% of it, there's benefit. And when you look for the benefit, you'll see the benefit. And I have tested this over and over, and I've seen this. And when you see the benefit, it's like a lightness, okay, and you keep your mind fixed on that silver lining. And this is part of understanding. So one is the understanding, and then two is the strength, inner strength. So when I use my inner strength in the situation, then it allows me to let go. It helps me to let go of whatever it is I may be holding on to inside. Because when I use acceptance, when I wear this attitude that okay, it's here, then what happens? Acceptance is such an energy that it opens up the door to calm. So you have a storm, and the eye of a storm is the calm. It's so calm. It's actually quite amazing because outside of a storm is a storm. But the eye of a storm, so calm. And so when I'm able to wear the attitude of accepting that this is here, it's going to support you, support me to open the door to calm, because a calm and stable mind is extremely valuable at this time. And no matter how big the situation, and the situation is not a living thing, you are the living being. The situation is just a situation. Would you agree? Is a situation living? Can you think of a situation you're facing now? The situation is a combination of people and their attitude and their activities, but you are a conscient living being, and the circumstance is just the circumstance. So who is bigger? The situation that seems huge, or you? Which one's bigger? You or the situation? Are you sure? And so when we are facing these situations, and this is the first thing that to remember, situations come and yes, they're huge, but the situation is not living. You are living. I am living. Conscious living being. And so when I am able to wear this attitude of accepting what's in front of me, then the door to calm begins to open. Because I'm helping my mind to let go of the questions. Because I'm beginning to accept. And this does not happen straight away. We know that from our own lives, yes? This takes practice, it takes maturity. But it is so valuable to practice and to hold that I'm wearing this attitude of accepting what's in front of me at this time, because inside I want to hold on to lightness of mind. We want to move away from fighting, because when we fight the situation, we don't win. When we resist, we're wasting a lot of our energy. But what we want is our mind to be light. Would you agree? Is that what you would want? So when you wake up in the morning, that situation is not the first thing you think about. When you go to bed, that person, that circumstance is not on your mind, as we say. What is on your mind? But we want to live a life where we are free. So my mind is not chained to the whys and the whens and the hows and the ifs and if only. But it doesn't mean that the situation will go away. It is there, I have to deal with it. But acceptance allows me to address how I deal with it. And I will deal with it on my own terms. And that means I will deal with it with calm and clarity and inner stability. And so acceptance for me is this pure energy of peace. It brings peace. It allows me to let go of expectations. And when you, and just think, when you are clear and you're stable inside your own mind, and you've got your hands on the driving wheel, on the steering wheel, then it becomes easier to know what to do. Because when you're facing something that's big, the questions come, and we are not sure what to do next, how to respond. And I know that this is not new. I'm sure you would have heard this before. But stability and clarity, so important. And very rare actually to be able to have clarity of mind. And clarity of mind is possible. But it's a bit like a foggy windscreen. The windscreen's property is to allow me to see. But if it's foggy, then I can't see. And when we think a lot and we think fast, we can't see what it is that I should be doing right now. What steps should I not do? What steps should I do to manage this situation? But if I'm thinking fast, then I can't. And so to develop this space within, to open up the space inside, so that I can know, do I go left or do I go right? Do I say something or do I remain quiet? And for that I need clarity. And so acceptance allows me to do that, a situation, but also acceptance for others as they are, how they are. That's maturity, because we know that we can't change anyone else, but also the energy of acceptance for my own self as part of self-love. And that means all of my weaknesses and all of my strengths, accepting me as I am, how I am in this moment. And so when we are able to develop, actually it's practice, because we know that when we're in tough situations, that is not the time to try to use something. We need to practice it before the situation arises. And so that when the situation arises, it becomes easier. It's not so hard, that I can accept that this is here. I can look the situation in the eye. I know that what's valuable to me is my peace and my inner calm, and I don't want to lose that. Questions that don't leave. And so to help us, when we can sit with ourselves deliberately, I'm going to deliberately sit perspective becomes smaller. It doesn't go because it's there, but because your awareness is high. There is a power that comes when your awareness is high. Try it and you'll see. Maybe you have experimented with this. When your awareness is high, so that means very positive thinking, empowered thinking, elevated thinking, stable thinking, from a high position, the problem remains below and you are up above. And so the problem is small. And it's a bit like when we go on holiday and we are on a plane, the plane takes off, you look out of the window. From spiritual learning is that a high consciousness really enables me to manage, to steer the problem, the situation, and change the problem into something else. And so wearing an attitude of this maturity and patience in the form of accepting what it is in front of me. I accept this. It's here. Okay. It's not bigger than me, even though it seems like it is. And the other aspect that acceptance gives us is stability. So valued, so in fact, in today's world. Can we put a price on a stable mind? Really think about it. Stability. Even when things are calm, even when situations are going, they're normal. It's the normal everyday for us. How stable is our mind then? Much less when a storm, a big situation happens. And this is so essential at this time because so much is happening so fast in our own private, personal lives. To have a stable mind that isn't pulled by what someone did not do, what they did do, maybe their attitude, maybe their mood, maybe it was something I planned and it did not turn out that way. I have to accept. Or is there another option? Some people will say, actually, I don't have to accept. I will fight this, and I will fight this, and I will resist. And I will push back because it's not right. And situations do come, and if they're unjust, if they're unfair, people say, well, why should I accept it? Because it's unfair. This should not be happening. And so I will push back and fight. And at that point, then, as a master, before whatever I choose to do, whatever action you choose, because you have a choice, your inner gatekeeper, your inner caretaker, your inner custodian or watchman, it will decide what you do. But we want to make the right choice and the right decision. And so we take a step back and look at, well, if I resist and fight and push, what will be the outcome? And if I let go now, what will be the outcome? And you have to make that decision. You have to make that choice. But ultimately, there will come a point when I need to make peace with the circumstance. I will need to get to such a point where it does not sit and take hold of my own mind and my own thinking. I don't want to be in a circumstance where I am tied and pulled by this. I want to be free. I don't want to be in bondage to it. And so it comes a point where I will need to accept. And when I accept, and when I reach that stage and I go into that practice, and I have that sense of calm and peace inside, then I'm able to help others. I'm just able to have that peace on my face. I'm able to give off that feeling of lightness, someone who is not burdened. Maybe others might be. Others may be having that problem. Others may be bothered, they may be heavy, they may have the tension or the anxiety, they may have the fear, or they may have the questions. The situation is still in front of you, in front of me, but I don't want to lose my lightness, the smile. I don't want to be walking under a cloud. And so we keep and we invoke our peace, our calm, and our capability to let it go. Is that easy? Is it achievable? What's your experience? Is it easy to do? Does it work? Have you tried it? Situations? When we are able to use our inner strength, then that inner strength builds within the self. And so when the next situation comes, it becomes that little bit easier because I've done it before. And so I have a template of sorts to help me, that I know instantly that when I'm able to sit with my own self, situation is there, create the distance between me and it, or me and the person. Take us, look inside and understand, what is it I want from this? What is the outcome I want from this? And how do I want to walk away from this situation? What is important? And then also, if some situations are so big, they could be life-changing. And sometimes we feel as though actually I have not got the strength to deal with this on my own. And then in those circumstances, we take the support from the Supreme. And in the quiet, when we connect in meditation, we give that problem to the Divine and say simply, this is too big for me to handle. This is really, it's living inside of the mind, in my thoughts all the time. And it is, I'm unable to manage it as I would like at this moment. And give the problem away to the Divine. And so it's no longer my responsibility. And sometimes you find when you give it, not so long after it comes back again. Comes back into the mind. You give it away, it comes back again. You give it away, and it comes back again. And so when the situation can be such that we feel as though we're almost tied to it. And so that means that my concentration, my effort, and my focus has to be even stronger, absolutely stronger. And when I sit in that consciousness of being the being of peace, the soul within, there is no situation that can tie me to it if I do not wish it to. There is no circumstance that can live inside my mind if I do not wish it to. And this is how powerful we have to become. And that is possible to have that capability. And so what helps, one of the other techniques that helps in acceptance is to create that sense of detachment from the circumstance. And so to visualize, to use our inner eye of visualization, that situation is over there and I am here. And yes, I will manage it. And yes, I will deal with it. But there is space between me and it. And who am I? And who are you at that time? Are you weak or are you strong? Are you clear or are you confused? Are you big or are you small? And so when I sit in soul consciousness, so the awareness that you are that bright, sparkling, powerful, shining light within, filled with power, filled with inner strength, filled to the top with strength. Then the mind feels stronger, your thoughts are more powerful, and you're able to see how that problem can be resolved, and you begin to feel that that situation is not as big as it once was or it feels like. And this has been my experience. And I don't know what your experience has been, but if there is a situation now that perhaps you are going through, what has been your approach? What is some of the techniques that has worked for you? How do you go about handling that? Would anyone like to share? To share your own thoughts? How have you approached it? So, in situations that you have experienced, not big situations, so how have you approached that in terms of acceptance when something seems quite big and we're not sure actually how to handle it? What has been your approach? What has worked for you? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
One of the approaches I use to try to reach a level of acceptance about something is to break it down. If it's a situation with a person, I try to understand them, why they are the way they are, and that's how I reach a state of acceptance quite easily with a situation involving a person. Yeah,
thank you for sharing actually. So absolutely, in terms of trying to understanding, so using understanding to help as part of acceptance, and understanding is one of the tools that can help us, together with that inner strength as well. And so to make something more manageable, and we do that because our mind wants to understand why this is happening. We're trying to see behind the thinking. We are attempting to make it make sense inside. And so yes, by all means, we are using the technique of making it smaller, so that yes, I am able to understand. And then together with that, when I'm able to understand, that helps to reduce the questions that can arise. And then also with that, then I need, once I've understood, I also then need the strength by which then to do what's required, to enable me then to stop the thinking and to stop the negative thinking, if there is negative thinking, in order for me to manage that train of thoughts. If I am having a lot of wasteful thinking, a lot of heavy thinking, I need to be able to put a brake to it. And that takes practice. So one is the understanding, and then the other is the strength. And this, because of this practice, because it requires practice rather, then when I'm able to do that, then it helps to put a brake to my thinking. And that simply means that when I choose, I should be able just to put my foot on the pedal and slow down all those thoughts that are going through the head, all those thoughts, that long train of thoughts. And to be able to, more I do that practice, the more lighter I'm going to feel, really. The more better I'm going to feel inside, really, when I haven't got that long train of thinking going on inside. What else do you do? Oh, how have you managed it in the past? Big problem, acceptance. How have you done that? How do you accept? Anyone else want to have the courage to say? How do you accept? Or you don't accept? You do accept? How do you do it? If someone said to you, how do you do it? What would you say? So something comes up tomorrow on the way home, at work, with your family, something unexpected has come up in front of you that you have to deal with suddenly. How will you begin accepting that? Need to think, no? Need to think, how would you begin to accept it? It's come up in front of you. You have to deal with it. You can't run away. We can't avoid it. Well, we can try to avoid, but we know that's only for a temporary period of time. Would we be able, in that situation, to sit and create space between yourself and the situation first? To sit with yourself and talk to yourself in this elevated way, with an elevated consciousness. Does that make sense? Do you see what I mean? So an elevated way, so that means that when we sit, situations external, you are inside, you the living being are within, but the situation is outside, and we don't want to bring the outside inside. So when we're at home, we take off our shoes. We don't bring the outside inside. I have to look at it, I have to manage it, but first I need to get myself right. To help me to accept, I want to sit inside in my own mind, with your own thoughts, in a consciousness of who you are, which is the inner being of peace. First, let me put on this attitude before I even think of dealing with that, before I even think of managing that. Let me put on this attitude of who am I first. Who am I? Situation's big, that's fine, no problem. But who am I? Who are you? You are an empowered being. You are the one that has all rights and all powers. Let me get myself right inside first. So you have power and peace inside to manage that, no matter how big it seems. But I have to get myself right inside first. That's important. And so, in terms of elevated thinking, it means to create consciously, actively, purposefully create those thoughts inside of you. Who am I? Are you weak? Are you afraid? Are you apprehensive? Or are you calm? Are you clear? Are you empowered? Are you strong? Are you the living being within? Who are you? You need to know that. It needs to be clear. There should not be a question mark inside, because at that time, that situation, it could be an instant. You know, an emergency, you have to act there and then, in the moment. And so we accept that I cannot run away, but to help me in that acceptance, we have to sit on our seat of inner power. Does that make sense? So you, the light, I have to be very clear that this is who I am, that I am an empowered being, that within you, the light, you have power. Within you, the light, you have strength. And as you sit to deal, you are also connected to the ocean of power and the ocean of strength. And then it's for me to pull that strength to help me to manage what's in front of me. And so I'm keeping an eye on the time also, because I think there is so as we keep our mind in an elevated frame of mind, elevated thinking, call it positive thinking, call it high thinking, but it stems from knowing who you are. And so the question is, do I know who I am? And if I do know who I am, I have to practice it daily, because it's very easy to forget. It's very easy that it slips away. And so to sit with the self, to underline who it is that you are, that inner being of peace and power, filled with strength. And then with this consciousness, then I begin to face what it is in front of me. So I am going to stop here now, keeping an eye on the clock and the time, and then open the floor to see if you have any question or any comment you want to make, or anything from your own experience that you would like to share. So feel free. Any question? Okay. So if there are no questions, and I think is
Now we can finish with the short meditation.
yeah, okay, thank you. So let's experiment. And so let's sit quiet as we are, and to bring our awareness, bring your awareness, bring your thoughts onto yourself. And so whatever else was going on in the mind, gradually see if you can let it go. Because you wish to bring your thoughts and your energy onto yourself. And in these few moments, let's make it powerful. And let's use this time for you. And so wherever your thinking is, just bring it onto yourself. And that means to bring your thoughts into this present moment. Let go of even where you are, anyone else around you, and focus on yourself. And as you focus on the self, let's take our awareness inwards. And so the mind is yours, your thoughts are yours, and let's bring our attention inwards and see yourself in your mind's eye as the living being. And so you're seated just behind your eyes. And see yourself and feel yourself to be filled with calm. And so you are seated there, and the energy of calm begins to arise. Because you are a being of calm. And the energy of calm is healing and nourishing, and it flows through the mind. And as you sit with yourself in this way, you become aware that there is strength within, and that you are an empowered being. And so you are focused on you, the living being, filled with calm and inner strength. And as you sit in this awareness, you are able to accept, to let go of all situations. And so see and feel that there is space between you and all circumstances. And that as you sit as the empowered being, it is clearer to see what you need to do. And so hold this awareness of who you are, peace and inner power. And we bring our thoughts back, but keeping this awareness. Om Shanti. reality.
Thank you, Louise, for the wonderful talk and all the tools and tips given. Before we go, there's a few announcements. Next week, same time, same place, and the topic is Unraveling the Mind of Meisei. Every Sundays we go morning meditation, which is online only, and timing for that is 10 to 10:45. You can join through our website, Inner Space Wembley. Stress-free living course, which is in person on this Saturday the 1st November, and timing is 2 to 4 in the afternoon. Fast track Raj Yoga meditation is starting on 3rd of November to Sunday the 9th of November, 6 to 7 in the evening, and that's online only. So if you wish to join, you can register through our website. And our regular reflective meditations every Mondays and Thursdays, 7 to 7:30, which is in-house, so everybody's welcome on that. Once again, thank you for joining us, and thank you to all our viewers as well, and have a safe journey back home. Thank you.